Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Sheets, and I have Kenny with me today to go over the John Deere Classic. Um, I should have, I would say, I should have listened to myself. I should have heard. I heard Bobby in the back of my head, right? I said he's going to say, "Play Jake Knapp. I don't care," and he ended up in the top five for sure. And we also
Yeah,
talked
yeah,
about the Oswald Cobblepot, and he ended up winning. It's like,
yeah, yeah.
but I ended up not doing very well. So let's talk about this week. We'll go through tier by tier, and again, it's one of those lower level event where the top guy is Jason Day on the salary board. And three guys at over 10K. You have Denny McCarthy like 9,900. This is like one of those, so to speak. So I would say I've done about B minus fundamental research, but I've really done a lot of work with the models and the projections this week. And I think that Kenny has admittedly done about a like C plus in research. So we're kind of winging it here. But do you know anything about this course or anything like that? What do you expect as far as the tournament in general? You have any thoughts on that before we get into it?
Yeah, I mean, it's they play the same course every year for this event. It's known. It's not distance isn't really too much of a factor as opposed to like last week, and accuracy is going to matter a lot more this week. So, kind of the opposite of skill sets required this week to last week, but also even a weaker field. So that just I think kind of opens it up even further. You know what I mean? So.
All right. So what do you think of? I mean, actually, I almost want to include the 9Ks and above in this range here. But okay, so let's do it let's do it the way we always do it. So in the 10Ks or above, I mean, what do you think of either of these three guys?
So, I mean, I like Ben Griffin. Like he's just been playing great. At this point, I don't know. He's projected looks like to be the highest owned by a lot of these three guys. And, I just don't know. He doesn't have to win it. I don't know that you need exposure to really much of this range. I think it's kind of odd that Jason Day is priced higher than Ben Griffin actually at this point. But, I guess it kind of makes sense if you go just, I don't know, historically or something. But, I would expect that Jason Day is playing in the Open next week, so I'm I'm kind of curious why he's even here. You know what I mean, and what's his motivation here? But out of the three, I guess it would be Ben Griffin. But just considering the fact that he's predicted to be, well, it shows like SaberSim showing 43% or whatever. Might just be a skip this range week.
Yeah. So I guess the only reason why Jason Day is projected like this. Well, I shouldn't say that because it's technically supposed to be because of win odds, I guess. But it's got to be just because of name recognition. You know what I mean? Because anybody that's been following golf the last like 3 months, it's like this is almost feels like Ben Griffin is like Scotty Scheffler compared to these guys right now.
Right.
Right. So I think the SaberSim ownership is reflecting that. I think that 40% in the flagship is certainly within the range of outcomes, and I think higher than that in the big binds, certainly within the range of outcomes. And I'll tell you this, as far as like buy projections go, and I'm gonna redo these later, but he legitimately like kind of lays over the field here, So I might actually do that same stuff that I refuse to do with Scotty Scheffler every week. Like every week, everybody that's like smarter than me says, what are you guys doing? Just lock in Scotty Scheffler and figure the rest out. I just can't do it because he's like so much higher price than everybody else. And every week he just smashes. I have this feeling I'm supposed to do that with Ben Griffin this week and just play him. So I'm definitely in that. I mean, as far as day and posting, if I get a zero share of either of them, it wouldn't bother me. What's interesting to me really is as when we transition down into the 9K range. Is this. So where Ben Griffin kind of for me at least stands out over everybody, there's really no difference the way I have these guys projected between like these 9K guys and even like the 7K guys, sort of. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have to really struggle for me to get to these 9K guys, or even like 8K guys, sort of. But we'll get there in a minute. I mean, I wouldn't say zero, but I mean, let's just even see. I mean, my exposures right now. I mean, this is like obviously early, and this obviously can't hold me to that. I mean, I got Michael Thor Bjornsson at 9,100. I have like 15% of, and then I do have 14% of Siwoo Kim. I guess I have some more of these than I thought. 12% of Davis Thompson. Davis Thompson was like 400% owned, and he got there last week, right? I mean, he was good enough. But as far as his raw projections go, I mean, none of these guys seem great. Now, again, I know with Bobby here, he would say, you know what? That's why I'm just going to not play Ben Griffin and play these 9K guys at low ownership. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely low owned, but the way I'm looking at these numbers, it's like for a reason. So who do you like? I mean, who do you want to talk me into in these 9Ks?
Well, I'm with you on Thor Bjornsson. He was tied for second here last year, and a T17 the year before that. So he's got good course history. He's obviously been playing well. He had a withdraw, but that's fine. We can overlook that. You know, T4 last week, and he's also really accurate. You know, a lot of these the guys in this range, you know, their accuracy numbers aren't there really. You know, until you get to, you know, really, I guess Sungjae's got the highest accuracy rating.
Now, when you have accuracy rating, where are you getting that from? I never heard of that.
From on Rick's tools, he's got you know the metrics, and he's got an accuracy percentage rating, right?
Okay.
So you know, Thor Bjornsson comes in at 65%, which is is a green, and Sungjae Im right above him is at 71%, which is a lighter green. You know, so a little bit better there.
Where does Jenny McCarthy fit into this? Because he, again, like anecdotally, he feels to me like somebody who's accurate, you know, and all that stuff. He's
basically kind of middle of the field at a 58%.
Okay.
So he's not red, or he's just like kind of average field.
Gotcha.
So for me, I think that's kind of what I'm looking at this week. You know, stats that I'm trying to isolate would be off the tee and accuracy, where distance doesn't really matter as much because it's a shorter course, and it's you can't overpower it because of the layout, right? So yeah, I'm with you there on Thor Bjornsson, also just because he's been playing well and has good history here. I think Siwoo is also another guy with great good accuracy stats, who's also shorter typically, which the guys who are accurate and shorter, I think have a bigger advantage this week because their strengths are going to play in more than they would be taken away from typically on courses where distance comes into play if you can really bomb it, right? But other than that, I mean, you might say Lucas Glover because he's got good history here. He's won it before. I think Davis Thompson, I think he's going to be super chalky, but he won it last year, and we saw him have a pretty solid performance last week when he was also really popular, but still was kind of one of those guys you couldn't really avoid. But other than that, yeah, I think there's really I kind of agree with you. There's so much little differentiation between the 7 and 8K ranges to up here at the top that I think you can kind of just pivot into leaving a lot of money on the table probably is a good play this week.
Yeah, that's scary to do, but maybe that's the idea. So in the 8Ks, I mean, just go with my rankings, I guess. So I actually, once again, I mean, I just seems like every week they just insert Ryan Gerard like into my lineups, I guess. So Ryan Gerard I do have as the top rated of those guys, and then after that Pearson Cootie, and then after that I have Michael Kim, Olsen, and you. So tell me about these guys relative, I guess, to like skill sets and field and stuff like that. Like, do you like any of those guys particularly, or do you like anybody else?
I do. I like the Pearson Cootie play. He previously had status on the tour. It looks like he hasn't played since the Charles Schwab Challenge, but he's been putting up scores on the Corn Ferry Tour. And I think, this is probably one of those weeks where he has a lot of incentive. He probably can, do well for himself and get to play a couple more events if he places like maybe top 5 or something this week, which, isn't out of the realm of possibility when, the field is so dispersed, right? So I think that's a really interesting play. Michael Kim, we were talking about last week. He was kind of a model darling for a while and then kind of fell off. And I'm still just not getting back around to him yet. I think he's in okay form, but he just doesn't seem, like he's playing his best. And I think he's struggling a little bit. So I'll probably try to be avoiding that, especially if, the numbers get any more, get over 10% projected ownership for him. And I guess, well, the flagship's shown him at 19% SaberSim ownership. So that's an easy fade for me on Michael Kim. So I like the Cootie play. I like the Ryan Gerard play. He also, he was one of those guys last week that I think was a good target, and he ended up falling off on the weekend, but was up there on Friday and was playing really well. So I like that play as well. Other than that, let's see, what do we have here? I guess maybe you might want to have, we're just in 8K, huh? We're down a little low there.
Does Ricky Fowler seem cheap at 8K, like anecdotally, or just not really?
I guess.
I don't know. Maybe again, that's the name recognition thing. You know what I mean? Like,
maybe. I mean, it's probably because I guess he just missed the cut last week, which is also a little concerning. Being a weaker field last week and not a hard course. So, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say if it's probably a fair price. You know what I mean?
All right. So the 7Ks for me is where I am, going to live, so to speak. The only question is going to be something you brought up is whether to leave money on the table or not, because I mean, these guys don't project, at least to me, like that much worse than 8Ks or 9Ks. So I wonder if I have it in me to do this. So when I first, built with SaberSim, I went with their standard whatever. I don't even know if they allowed me to leave money on the table, but if they do, I mean, it really might not be a bad idea. I'll give you an example. So I want to look. Hold on one second. Hello. You tell them I'll call them right back. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So I have all these 7K guys like rated. Like, look at these projections I have. Now again, I'm much lower than like SaberSim on every golfer, honestly. I think I'm operating on a different scale. But like 70, like all these guys are within like, they're like higher than Ricky Fowler, like 1 point from Michael Thorbjornsen, who's 9,100. You know what I mean? So, so I can't see any reason why I wouldn't want to leave money on the table, considering that they're all going to be like those combinations are going to be so low owned.
Right. Right.
So, but these are the guys. I'll just let you look at. I mean, these are the guys that are all like looking out for me. Like Hubbard, Smalley, Roy, Hodges, Mitchell. You have it in you. Play Mitchell again. Yeah. Mitchell, Rio, Emmanuel, Grillo, Kitayama. Like, so what I would really recommend, I mean, if SaberSim won't do it for you, is to take a bunch of these 7K guys and just freaking shuffle them. And don't. I would not get too much of any of them. You know what I mean? Because that's the last thing you need is to say, okay, I want Griffin and some 7K guys and leave money on the table, but you end up somehow getting like 30% of Mark Hubbard and like 4 of Rui for some reason, and you blow combinations. So I would shuffle and limit exposures to these guys, and just make sure you get a bunch of them. So again, I'll throw it to you. I mean, which of all these 7K guys, either anecdotally, intuitively, or what you know about the course, like who kind of stands out? Because I could play any of them.
Yeah, for me, 2 stand out, same as last week with Andrew Putnam and Emiliano Grillo.
Okay.
Both, playing great. Grillo didn't have it. I mean, he made the cut and then kind of fell off last weekend as well. But, models well, has a complete game. Putnam has just been playing great. I think he's one of the, he probably is being disrespected on his price down here at 7,600. He probably should be over 8K or maybe even higher, just based on, how well he's been doing. And then also, I like the Mark Hubbard plays also. He also, I think, models well for this course, has really good history here, actually, with a top 6, a couple top 13, he's made the cut every year, the past 4 years. And he's, another one of these guys who models well for accuracy as opposed to distance. So I think he's going to have a little bit better week than maybe his average week. And he top 13 last week as well. So for me, those are going to be my focus. I wouldn't fault anyone for playing Keith Mitchell, but yeah, it's hard to, I wouldn't want to be overexposed to him. And I also wouldn't want to be, really have too much exposure this week to Potgieter. Like, I just think, the week after his first win, he's 20 years old. And I know it's kind of anecdotal. Everyone always talks about not playing the guy the first half, week after their first win. But I think this is probably a week to go ahead and lay off, because as we know, he's now the longest at distance, longest on tour with the highest club speed. And that was a major part of his advantage last week. And that's just being completely taken away from him this week. So, the chalk there, I'll be completely fading. But Hubbard, Putnam, and Griot, I think, are going to be my main 3 out of the 7Ks.
So I got a couple of 6K guys to ask you about. Not everybody's really projecting too well, but these are young guys that I wanted to bring up and get your opinion. So I'll list them first, then you can tell me if you know anything about them. Jackson Koiven, and then Ben James, and then 2 more, William Mao and Josh Radcliffe. Like, all these guys are either college players or amateurs or whatever it is. Do you know anything about any of these guys?
I've heard the Jackson Koiven name. I've seen his name before.
Okay.
He's played some events this year with not great success.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. I was going to say this at the top of the show as one of my overall thoughts. Typically, every week when I start, I'll see who's up at the top, and then I immediately scroll down to the bottom, and I kind of go backwards up the roster to see what the field looks like from the bottom, just to see if there's anything at the bottom that stands out to me off the first look. And this week, I watch almost every round of every event, and I have for years. And I'm a huge golf nerd, but this week I recognized less names than I think I ever have before, like in the bottom of the field, and it's really wild. And all of those other names that you mentioned, I've never heard of. So
okay, here's a couple of guys. So the Josh Radcliffe guy, he qualified on Monday.
Okay.
The other guy that I would bring up is a guy that I've met. He's a UVA guy. Ben James went to UVA. So I would bring him up. I heard that he's supposedly really, really good. He's really, really good iron player. And again, it's the type of field where anything can happen. So those are just names I was going to bring up to you. So you mentioned you've heard of Jackson Koiven. I'm going to just for vibes throw in some Ben James. And that's pretty much all again. Nobody projects well except for Quade Cummings again. Projects okay for guys under 7K. But like anything else, this is going to be again. I really think that aside from Ben Griffin, who's playing really, really well, I think that literally anything can happen here. So now the other thing I would mention, Sanjay Im should be better than most of these golfers also. Anyway, so let's kind of get into it. We'll do the same thing we do with Bobby. Who do you think is going to win the tournament? You don't have to be like a hero. Literally just like, who do you think is going to win?
I'll just go ahead and go. I'm going to just say Siwoo.
And I will go Ben Griffin. Who under 10K is going to, aside from who you said, who's going to make the top 5? And you can go whatever price you want, honestly.
Yeah. I'll go with Thor Bjornsson.
I like that. That's exactly what I was going to try. You know what? I'll go with what I just said. I mean, I just thought maybe this is like too much name value here, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna go Sun J.M. to make top 5.
That would have been my other pick.
Okay. Who under 9K to make the top 10?
Ooh. I'm gonna go with Ryan Gerard.
And I will go with the Pearson Cootie. Who under 8K to make top 20?
Andrew Putnam.
Okay, I will go with Mark Hubbard. And give me a guy under 7K that's going to miss. That's not going to miss. We'll get there in a second. Guy under 7K that's going to make the cut.
Zach Johnson.
Ooh, I like that. I am going to go with, again, just to make the cut. I guess I'll go with Svensson to make the cut. Now, give me a guy over 9K that's going to miss the cut.
I'm just going to say Jason Day.
I love it. I'm going to do the other one. I'm going to go JT Poston.
Nice.
We'll take the top 2 non-Ben Griffin to miss the cut. I like it. I like it a lot. By the way, it's also a really good answer. It would be Jake Knapp.
Right.
Coming off a good performance, and now like of course it's not exactly the best for him. That's not a bad one.
And his accuracy is bad.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Okay, sounds good. I'm going to be putting updated projections up later today. I'll probably put some showdown projections up as well. And that'll do it. Good luck, everybody. Thanks,
Awesome.
Ken. I appreciate it.
Good luck. Yep.
Have a good week.